Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Seeing a couple of folks have already started to trickle on in. Veronica, Shania, Sarah, Rosie, Rena, Raj, Michael, and lots more. Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about how to build a course, but not only how to build a course, how to build a course like an expert. I'm super excited to get into today's session. So I'm going to share my screen while we are waiting for more folks to continue to join us. And let me just make sure I have my windows situated so I can grab everything easily. But yes, so today is all about building a course. Very excited to have you all here. Again, we're going to get started in just a few moments. I do want to give folks a chance to join us for today so they don't miss anything. However, it is going to be a rather long-ish session, about an hour and a half, maybe shorter if we have less questions. As I'm going through, feel free to drop any questions into the Q&A window of the Zoom window. It should be visible to you guys now. You can drop questions in there at any time as I'm going through. I'm going to leave as much time as possible towards the end of today's session to get to all of your questions. And I also have Mary from our support team in the chat. She's going to be able to jump in and answer any questions if I can't get to it by the end, the whole nine. So she's here to support us from Team Teachable. Thank you again, Mary. And she's in the chat as well. Hey. I'm already seeing Martin join in the chat. Hi, all. I'm Martin from Pretoria, South Africa. Whoa, thank you for joining. We have Raj, good morning. Karen from a beach in the Dominican Republic today. I am so jealous, Karen. I'll meet you there. That's awesome. Fa Flo says, hello everyone from the Netherlands. Oh, cool. So we have quite the international audience today. I love that. Keep it coming. I'm seeing Romania. I'm seeing San Antonio. I love that. I am Monique Liu. I am from Team Teachable here. I am a creator coach. I've been here for the last 5 years, which is kind of incredible to say out loud. But my whole focus here has been to help creators, both large and small, build their first products on the platform. I have been involved in launch support, actually building the content, answering questions, the whole nine, helping creators grow and scale their businesses here on Teachable. So, all that to say, I've seen quite a bit over these last 5 years, which is why I really wanted to do this webinar so that I can share with you some of the ins and outs of building a course, the tips and tricks that some of our top creators utilize to build their own courses that you might not be privy to just yet. So, all that to say, again, super excited. Before we get started, and I'm seeing we are getting even more folks joining, so we'll give it about a minute or so before we really kick off. Keep letting me know where you are in the world. And in the meantime, I would also love to know, you should see a poll pop up on your screen. I'd love to know how long you've been on Teachable. Are you just getting started? Are you finding your footing? Are you a veteran? Are you just exploring your options, which is totally fine as well. I'd love to know where you are in that particular journey. So, are you building? Have you already launched a product? Are you actively selling and growing? Or are you scaling an existing business? Let me know in the poll. It really helps me to get a kind of like pulse sense of where everybody is in their journey, and that'll help me to kind of hone in and highlight some features that might be most relevant to you. Okay, let's take a look here. So I'm seeing most people. Oh, we have a majority of veterans here in the audience, which is really exciting. So people who have been on Teachable for 1 or more years, followed by, of course, people who are just finding their footing, maybe 3 to 12 months. And then I'm seeing a little bit of a jump to just getting started, meaning you're really in the beginning stages of it all. I'm also seeing that you're still building, maybe haven't launched yet. Awesome. Or some people are actively selling and growing. Love to see it. Okay, so we have a pretty diverse group of folks here. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Again, thank you for participating. This is super helpful for me. I love seeing this kind of data. Cool. I see Shania from New Jersey. Kevin is almost 2 years in, 6 courses, all on college programming. Another person from Sweden, Allie from Tennessee. Awesome. Again, thank you guys so much for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. So, we are here to learn how to build a course like an expert. Who is this session for? It could be for first-time creators, so maybe you have something that you've been sitting on for a while, thinking about building it out into a digital course, an online course. You're in the right space. We might have some course rebuilders, folks who have launched before, but maybe the results didn't land, and now you're kind of rethinking the structure of the course and maybe the strategy. And then we might have some growth-focused educators. So you might already have a course, but you're kind of not sure what features you should be utilizing, pricing, what the launch tactics are. If any of those apply to you, you again are in the right place. And I already see some questions coming into the chat. Love that. I see a first one from Sarah. Do you have a cheat sheet on how to best design with new editors and options? Yes, not at the ready right this moment, but Sarah, I will in my replay email where I share access to today's recording, I'll make sure you get access to a kind of cheat sheet for yourself. And let me make sure, speaking of recording, okay, we are recording. Great. So I'll get back to you on that, Sarah. Okay. Ooh, went too far. So again, my name is Monique Liu. I'm a creator coach here at Teachable. Today we're going to be covering building an actual course inside of Teachable, sequencing content so that students actually finish your course. We're going to talk about setting pricing that you can really stand behind, the different types of launches and strategies behind that. And then we're just going to touch on overlooked features that you might not be aware of, but are immensely helpful when it comes to selling courses and keeping your students engaged. It's going to be quite a doozy today. So again, bear with me. And if you need to hop early, no worries. I will be sending out the replay later on. You're going to get access to resources. And speaking of which, you should be able to see a list of resources in the Zoom window. There are articles leading over to how to create a course, Teachable Pay, the whole nine. I also have a document here. It is a Teachable demo checklist. So if you want to follow along with me as I'm building out a demo course today, you absolutely can. Go ahead and download the demo checklist and you can just follow along. Okay, guys, let's keep going. So let's take you from knowledge worth teaching to a course that actually sells. So how do we do that? This is our product checklist. This is kind of the general flow of how I'm going to be going through building the course today. We're going to talk about branding, actually creating the course, uploading the content, previewing the student experience from start to finish. So not just what does the actual content look like, but what landing page are they going to? How does the public-facing end of your school look? Everything that has to do with that. We're also going to talk about checkout, publishing, and again, those landing pages. Okay, so if you're following along with me, there are a couple of things that you might want to have handy. No worries if you don't have this live with us today, you can go back and watch the replay and follow along then. So you will need a school name, a logo, and a color scheme. Nothing too crazy. I have some general references for the sizing of the images here, but again, in the resources section of the Zoom window, you should be able to see a image reference guide. If you're ever stumped on what the sizing is for something, you could always go and check out that particular article, and it has everything you need as far as sizing. Next, you will need a course name, a description, and a thumbnail. So your product thumbnail, I have some sizing here as well. Don't sweat it if you don't already have this. Again, you can come back to this later on. And then payment processing. So for a payment processor, especially if you're looking to sell on Teachable, you'll just need two simple things, banking info mostly, and your tax ID. That's it, super simple. Okay, so as I am building my course, I'm going to be adding in a course description. As I was kind of thinking through the different tips and tricks of how to build an engaging course description, I was like, oh, maybe this is something that people aren't super familiar with. So let's quickly go through just a few course description tips. So first off, we want to lead with the problem, not the solution. I see this all the time. People sell the solution so early on in their courses, and they really miss out on grabbing their potential buyers or their potential students with an emotional hook. So your first line should speak directly to the frustration or the gap your student is actually feeling. not what your course covers, which I know can feel a little bit counterintuitive. People actually buy outcomes, they don't buy content. And I see your question in the chat, Kayla. What do you think about starting with the dream? We can talk about that. If you want to go ahead and drop that into the Q&A, we'll definitely get into it. We also want to be specific about who the course is for. So vague descriptions appeal to no one. The more precisely you can describe your ideal student, your ideal audience, the more they will feel like you wrote it just for them. Again, we really want to hone in on that kind of emotional language when it comes to a course description. We also want to focus on the transformation, not the information. So you'll learn X is weaker than you will walk away being able to do Y. So something tangible, something that they could really point to and understand, okay, when I get to the end of the course, I will be able to do this. It's not a feeling, it is an actionable step that they'll be able to take. And then we want to keep it scannable. So most people skim before they read. Welcome to 2026. Maybe this is obvious. Um, but things like video are king, short form content, things like that. So we don't want to hit our students with a course description that in itself is probably a course on its own. We want to keep it scannable. So we're going to use a short opening hook, a brief body, and a tight bullet list. Wall of text descriptions, they're going to lose those folks so fast. We also want to avoid jargon. So write the way that your student experiences the problem or the solution. So not how you as the expert would talk about it. So as you're writing through, if you can put yourself into your student's shoes and say, would this make sense to them? Are they going to understand what I'm trying to tell them here? If the answer is no, that's your sign to go back and rewrite it as if you were just having a normal conversation with that particular student. We want to end with a clear who is this for as well. This does two things. It's going to qualify the right students in and filter out the wrong ones. And that's going to protect your course completion rates and your reviews and your refund rates, the whole nine. If we invite everybody into our course, we are inevitably going to end up with folks who the course might have not ever been for, and they're going to be disappointed. They might even be angry. And then you run into those issues of low reviews, refund rates, the whole nine. Okay. You also want to use the word you a lot. The best course descriptions feel like a conversation, not like a brochure. So this kind of maps back to avoiding that jargon aspect of things as well. So I have an example course description. So my course that I'm going to be building today is all about ideating. It's going to be about validating your idea before you actually go ahead and build a digital product. So it's a little bit meta. I'm going to quickly read through this description just so you can kind of understand all of those previous tips and tricks, and how I'm incorporating that into my own course description. So before you build anything, you need to know it's worth building. There's my hook. This course walks you through the step most creators skip, validating your digital product idea before you invest time or energy into creating it. So I'm already speaking to the emotional or the struggle that my student might be already in. So they might have already invested time. They might have already invested their energy. So this is really going to hook them and speak to them at the moment where they are in their journey. You'll clarify who your offer is for, pressure test your idea against real demand, and walk away with a validated concept you're ready to build with confidence. So there is my actionable takeaway. And then I get into what you'll learn. So generate and evaluate digital product ideas, define your ideal student or customer, validate demand before you build, choose the right format for your offer, and then pressure test your offer before you create. Now we get into who it's for. Beginners ready to turn their knowledge into a digital product or someone who wants to get the foundation right before building. Done. Super simple. It's not a novel. I've spaced it out so it's a little bit more scannable. We have our emotional language, we have our hook. Um, this in itself should be pretty clear to my audience before they actually get into buying. So, what does this look like in theory, or in practice, rather? We are going to head into my own Teachable school. And if you have downloaded that checklist, this is the point where you want to keep it up if you're doing the walkthrough with me as I'm going through the demo. I'm going to pull up my own checklist so I can make sure that I'm sticking to the same list as you guys. Just one moment. I have a million windows open, of course, at any given time. So where is it? There we go. Okay, so first off, we're going to get started with probably the most obvious bit, which is actually creating your product. So you'll have two options here. When you're creating a course, you can go into the product flow up top. I'm in the dashboard of my student or my school right now. It's typically the landing page that you'll see when you first open up your Teachable school on the admin side. So you'll see create a new product over here, which you can absolutely click, and it'll bring you into the options of what you want to build. You could also just go into the left-hand side here and click on courses, and then you'll see the option to build a new product from there. But since I'm already here, I'm going to choose course. And now the first thing that we're going to do is give it a name. So again, my course is all about validating the digital product idea. So I'm just going to go ahead and name it that. Validate first. Now I'm going to take that description that I had and I'm going to copy and paste it into the lesson builder here. So we'll drop that in and we'll shorten it a bit. Boom, now we're done. So if you are the only author or owner within your school, you can go ahead and leave this author bio as is, and we can always change it later on if you'd like, or if you need to. Or if you have multiple authors within your school and you want to assign them to the course, you can do that from here as well. You should just click on it and you'll see a drop-down list. If you already have those authors added to the school, you'll be able to easily assign them to the course at that moment. Okay, so we're going to leave it as me. Next thing you'll see is the option to add a thumbnail image. If you don't have one just yet, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We have the sizing recommendations here. I'm going to quickly upload one just to show you the process. So you'll click on upload. You'll see four options. You can upload from your device. You can upload from a link, Dropbox, or Google Drive, wherever you have it, really. Mine lives in my device, so I'm going to head there. We're going to go into demo build things, and I'm actually realizing I'm not sure if you guys can see this point of it, but I'm just going into my own folders and grabbing the correct thumbnail. Cool. So now I have my thumbnail. I'm going to go ahead and upload my file. And done. Boom, nice and quick. So the next option you'll see is the option to add pricing to your course. Don't freak out just yet if you don't have your pricing ready, if you're stuck on that aspect of it, what to price the course. Don't worry about it. We can always price it later on. And I think I'm actually going to do that because we can talk about this later on in the demo. So we're going to skip over this for now. Most creators, when they're just creating a course for the first time, even the second or third time, don't know what pricing they want to apply to their product just yet. So again, we're just going to skip on through. Now, this is my favorite part. So the next thing you'll see is the option to outline your course using our AI curriculum builder. You could also start from scratch, or you can bulk upload content in multiple files that you might have on your device, Google Drive, or Dropbox. You can also copy sections and lessons from other courses. So if you're looking to duplicate content and easily copy it over to another course, reuse sections and lessons, you can absolutely do that as well. What I'm going to do today, though, is use our AI curriculum builder. So that description that I wrote out earlier is perfect for this. It should have everything that the AI needs in order to generate a curriculum that makes sense for me. I highly, highly recommend using this curriculum builder if you are stuck in that phase of, I have a good idea, I just don't know how to actually translate this into a curriculum. It is going to save you so much time. I personally, I write courses for Teachable's own school, Teachable U or Teachable Academy. And I used to sit down and have to go through each and every section and lesson and kind of think through what should go here, what makes sense here, the whole nine. After the curriculum builder came out, it was much more easier for me to just get a quick sense of the right flow for the topic. You, of course, will want to go in and edit the section names, the lessons, the content itself, adding your own expertise into the course. But if the goal for you is to really understand and get to a point where you can have a curriculum quicker, this is going to save your life. It's going to save so much time. So we're going to go ahead and roll with that. But again, you could also start from scratch and upload content if you need to. So we'll finish. It's going to load for about 2 seconds, and I'm going to use that opportunity to take a water break. Okay, beautiful. So it's already generating text content for my course. It's already generated content for the actual sections and lessons. So the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and edit the curriculum. Again, this is AI, so it is prone to making mistakes. And even if it didn't, you want to add your own expertise to this and you want to add your own content. So we're going to go ahead and edit the curriculum. And now you can see that everything is separated into what we call sections and lessons. So what are those? Sections are essentially chapter titles, where if you have a book, chapter one might be your introduction to validation. Chapter two might be generating and evaluating product ideas. The lessons within are where you're actually uploading content and where your content is going to live. So while we're here, if there's anything that we don't like that the AI has generated for us, we can go ahead and quickly edit those names. So I can click on the right-hand side, rename a section, and I might want to say that this is not only an introduction to validation, but it might also be a welcome and intro to validation. So we'll save that. I can do the same thing for any of the other lessons. And if I want to reorder content, I can just left click on the left-hand side of each block, hold it and drag it into place. I can also do that for any individual lessons as well. Cool. So now we have our sections and lessons. Let's pretend that I'm happy with the titles and the lessons. I've added my own individual content to this. Great. What does it look like if I need to edit content, add additional content, the whole nine? We are going to start off with this first one. We're going to click into it. And as you can see, the AI generator has also created some text for me to utilize in my course. Again, you want to go ahead and edit that, make sure there aren't any mistakes, add your own. And speaking of adding our own content, we're going to click on Add Content, and you'll see a bunch of options here on the right-hand side. Now, one misconception that I hear all the time is that you need to have only one piece of content per lesson, which is absolutely not true. You can stack as much content as you'd like within one individual lesson. My pro tip for this, though, is you want to make sure that it is relevant, of course, to that particular lesson. So I've seen folks who have, let's say, a 2 hour recording of one course and they want to upload that into Teachable as an online course, which is a great idea. However, if you just take that 2 hour long video and drop it into one lesson and then have all of your text within that one lesson, that is going to be so overwhelming for your students. I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be very difficult for them to finish the course, and then you're going to end up with completion rates that are way lower than they might actually have been if you were able to separate that content out. So if you have a bunch of content, my biggest tip at this point in your journey is to go back, edit, and see where you can separate it and split it into multiple lessons versus just one long giant lesson. But that being said, you can stack content within a lesson. So let's say that I already like this text. I might want to include video as well. When I click on the video option, I have a couple of options within here too. So I can either upload a direct file or I can embed external content, maybe from YouTube or Vimeo. This is great if you are a YouTube creator, maybe you have a private watch list on YouTube or Vimeo that you want to incorporate and reuse for Teachable. You can absolutely do that. You just have to drop in the link directly from those websites. But for this demo, I'm going to go ahead and upload. And again, you can upload from your device, a link, Dropbox, Google Drive, wherever you have it. I'm going to choose my device. Let's go back to my desktop and into my demo stuff. We'll go into course content and I have a video here that I can go ahead and open up. We're going to upload my file and let it load. Typically pretty quick. Cue the elevator music. Da, da, da. There we go. Cool. So once you have your video uploaded, you'll see that it's going to process for usually a few moments. It really depends on how long your video is, though. So if you have a video that is 2 hours, expect a longer processing time. But if it's typically under 5 minutes, it's very, very fast. The next thing that you'll want to do is maybe upload a thumbnail to kind of represent your video if you have it. You absolutely don't have to do this, but some people like to have a thumbnail that maybe is the chapter title of the particular lesson that they're talking about, or an image of them that isn't kind of like stuck mid-conversation or mid-word and looks a little wonky. So if you want to clean it up a little bit, you can absolutely add a thumbnail here. We also have the ability for you to add auto-generated subtitles. So gone are the days of you needing to upload your own caption files, which can be incredibly tedious. If you want to auto-generate subtitles, you absolutely can. While my video is processing, I don't think it's going to let me finalize these, but just to show you guys the options, we have English, French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, all the heavy hitters for audio language. So if you want it dubbed, if you want a subtitle, you can auto generate and then select that from here. Cool. You can also have the video be available for download as well. So if you want your students to maybe learn on the go, you can go ahead and enable this and they'll be able to download the video right from within the curriculum. Um, this is a huge tip from a lot of big course creators, especially if you fall into maybe the language learning niche. If you're an English teacher, French teacher, Spanish teacher, whatever the case may be, learning on the go is huge. Teachable does have an app for both iOS users and Android users, so you can absolutely use those. However, if you want your students, no matter what they're using, whatever device they're using, to be able to download your content and learn on the go, especially if they don't have maybe a reliable internet signal, the whole nine, you can go ahead and allow them to download directly from the curriculum. Super helpful. It's one of the things that our top creators use all the time for their courses, and you can incorporate that into your marketing language as well. So don't be afraid. It might be a small setting in your mind, and it kind of is a small setting, but when it comes to marketing, telling them that no matter where you are, no matter how weak or strong your signal is, you will be able to watch this video on the go. It's incredibly powerful when it comes to that marketing aspect. Cool. So now we have our video content. Let's say I don't like the actual structure of this particular lesson. Maybe I want my video to live above my text. Same deal with sections and lessons. We can left click on the left-hand side, hold it, and drag it and drop it into place. And boom, we're done. We can do that for all of our lessons, all of our content. And now let's say I want to go ahead and add maybe quiz content. Might not be great to have a quiz in the very beginning of your course. You want to think through your sections and lessons here and really identify the kind of milestone moments that your students would be going through versus just kind of like throwing in a quiz any which way within the lesson or within the course itself. So over here, I talk about the validation process, and it's really a welcome opportunity. So I wouldn't want to hit them with a quiz right away. I might say, let's have a quiz live underneath this section here. So let's go into the curriculum builder again, go down, and we're going to go ahead and add a new lesson. And I'm just going to be simple for today and name this lesson quiz. You can be much more creative than me if you'd like, but once we have our quiz lesson, we're going to click into it. Same thing, add content, and we're going to scroll down and use the quiz option here. You also have two options for when it comes to adding kind of educational tools to your course. You can have a quiz or you can have an open-ended question. I'm going to go with quiz first, and then we can go through the open-ended builder as well. So when we use the quiz, this is probably another one of my favorite aspects of course building here on Teachable, but we have the option to use the AI to go ahead and quickly generate questions. One of the biggest pain points that I hear from course creators all the time is, okay, they've spent all of this time building out a course, uploading the content, writing the content, the scripts, filming it, everything. And then they're like, oh, shoot, I need to add some sort of quiz content in here, some sort of testing. Now I need to go back and sit and write every question and write every answer. That is a painful, painful process. So instead, we're going to use the AI to kind of quickly pull the content that I already have from the course and generate questions. So when I click on that, I'm able to select a section that I want to test them on. And right now, I'm in this second section here. And now I can go ahead and select the lessons that I want this quiz to pull from as well. So I'm going to select the first three, not the actual quiz lesson. And then we're going to go ahead and let it generate questions. I'm going to take a quick water break and check out the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Cool, looks like we're okay there. Awesome. And that's it. Now we have our questions here that it's generated based off of the content that I've uploaded into the sections and lessons. If there is a question that I don't like, if there's a answer that doesn't look right, if I need to add more content, I'm going to go ahead and pick the one that I want to edit, click on it. I can go ahead and edit the question from there. I can add an image to go along with this particular question, and then I can edit the answers themselves as well. When it comes to quizzes, we can also have multiple correct answers. So you're not just limited to one at a time. You can select any which one, you can select multiples, and again, we can add answers as well. So let's pretend I love this quiz. It's done a fantastic job. We're going to save that quiz. And the next thing you'll see on the right-hand side here are our configuration settings for our quizzes. So first thing, if this is not just like a hee hee ha ha throwaway quiz, you actually want to record grades, we want to make sure that we enable that setting. The next thing you'll see is instant answer feedback. So we can display whether responses are correct, and then we can provide the correct answer when that's not selected. If you want to be or have this quiz be a little bit more challenging, you can go ahead and disable that as well. I'm seeing in the chat from OPEX Online Academy, I already used the AI tool to generate the quiz questions. It is awesome. Yay, awesome. I'm glad that you find it as awesome as I do. Again, it saves so much time. But back to this. So the next thing you'll see is the compliance section. So it's one thing to have graded quizzes and have it auto record. It's another thing to have Teachable say, hey, you didn't pass this quiz. You need to go ahead and do that before you can actually go through. We're going to manage the course compliance here. It's going to take us over to the information section of our course. We want to go into course settings and scroll down to the course compliance section. Here you'll see enforce graded quiz completion. So if I check that off, I'll now be able to add a passing score or a minimum passing score for my quiz. So let's say I'm being generous and I want them to get at least 75% correct before they are able to move on through the course. We'll add that there. What happens if they don't get that 75%? I don't want them emailing me a million times letting me know that they didn't pass it and they need me to reset their quiz. So instead, we're going to give them a maximum number of retakes before they ultimately would need to reach out to me. Sweet spot for most large creators is going to be 3 tries. I think that is totally fair. I've seen people do even less, but typically 3 is the sweet spot to kind of avoid a tidal wave of questions or requests from your students to reset the quiz. So we're going to leave it as that. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and save those settings so that they actually stick to your course content. Cool. So now that we've done that, we are going to head back into the curriculum. And I'm just taking a look at my little list here. And I realize I kind of hopped ahead to content features. So if you are following along with me, bear with me. We're going to kind of bounce between those two sections of the checklist. So we've uploaded some content, we've added our quizzes, we've set up some course compliance. The next thing that I love to walk people through is called drip content. So, what happens when you have a course and you don't want people to be able to just breeze through all of the content? We're going to talk about different course types and the launch strategies that go along with that. But in order to kind of consolidate, building a course, I'm going to show you the drip feature now versus later on so that it's, fresh in the flow of things. So if you ever want to make sure your students are going in order, if you want to lock content based off of days after enrollment or even by a specific date, drip is going to be your best friend. So this first section here, if I'm a course creator and I have a pre-sell course that I'm looking to sell before I finish building, or maybe I have a set release date, like you can buy it now, you're on the wait list, but content is going to come out at a later date. This first section here, I might not want to set a traditional lock on, I might actually want to have this available to them pretty much immediately after they enroll so that they have something, especially if it's just typically a welcome and intro to the actual content. Maybe this is something I want them to have sooner rather than later. So I would actually set this to be 0 days after enrollment, meaning they're going to get this as soon as they enroll into my course. I would go ahead and save that. The next thing we would want to do is activate drip for this particular section. And then we want to create a notification email. This is also my favorite bit of automation, especially if you don't have any sort of email marketing service outside of Teachable. So if you're not using a MailChimp, a ConvertKit, Aweber, whatever the case may be, Flowdesk, you could always use the drip feature to set up automated emails and messages to your student base, at least those who are enrolled in this particular course. So for this first one, I might say this is a bit of a welcome email. So I can say welcome to the course. And if the rest of my content is set to be released at a later date and time, I can let them know the rest of the content will go live on May 5th. And maybe I'll let them know I'll send out another email to grant you access to the next section. Something like that. You can be much warmer than I am. Feel free to embrace your own brand voice in here and speak to your students how you would normally speak to your students. Um, Last thing that we're going to do here is go ahead and save, and then we're done. So we're going to close this out, and then we're going to go ahead and use drip for the next section. So if they already got instant access to this first section up here, maybe my course is on, let's say, a weekly schedule. I can go ahead and say, I want this to be released on a specific date. So a week from now would be about May 5th, I think. May 6th, we'll do the 5th just for the sake of it. We'll save that. We'll activate drip, and now I can go ahead and set another automated email reminder for these students. The time has come. That's not how you spell that. There you go. You can now log in here to access your course. And sorry, guys, you're getting a little bit of ASMR with my key typing here. Bear with me. So I've added a section where they could potentially click in to actually access the course content. In order to make that a workable link, we're going to save our content. We're actually going to close this out and we're going to preview our course content just like a student would be able to see. So we'll preview. It's going to take us into the actual student end of the course. So this is exactly what they would see if they were to log in and access the content. If I want to make it super easy for them to just click on the link and go straight into the lesson that I've released, I'm going to go ahead and click on that lesson, let it load, and we're just going to copy the URL from the browser bar. This is super, super helpful, especially even outside of drip emailing. If you want to create a quick resource for your students, and I've seen a lot of larger creators do this, just a quick resource hub of saying, hey, if you're looking for how to build a feedback survey for your students, you can find it in lesson one. They can click on that and it'll go straight to the lesson. So now that I have that, we're going to go back to edit this particular lesson in the curriculum builder. We're going to click on drip again. And when we go to edit our email, we're just going to go ahead and highlight the whole bit, click on the link, insert link, and drop that URL in there. Perfect. And now we're done. So we would follow that same cadence for all of the sections if we were releasing this on a weekly basis. Now there is another way to use drip. If you don't have a course that is going out on a weekly basis, you might have it be based off of the days after enrollment for students. This is most helpful if you have maybe an evergreen course that students can log into at any or enroll into at any time, but they still have to go through a paced version of the content. So you can say, this is going to go out days after enrollment. Maybe it'll go out 3 days after that particular student has enrolled, and it's going to be specific to that student. So if you have student A who's enrolled on Monday and then student B who's enrolled on Tuesday, even if you have this 3-day setting after they've enrolled, they're going to get it at different times. There's just a 1 day difference between them, but they'll be on their own timed path for each section. So we would follow that same pattern for all of our sections here. I won't make you sit through and watch me go through each and every one, but if you're thinking about doing a timed course, a cohort-based course, anything like that, you want to pay attention to the drip content. Or if you just want to automate a really quick, easy welcome email to your students, drip content with 0 days after enrollment is a super easy way to do that without having to do MailChimp, again, any of our email marketing integrations. Okay, so we have now uploaded our content. We've added our quiz content. We've done course compliance. If, again, you want to preview your content at any time, you can go ahead and preview on the right-hand side. Again, you'll see exactly what your students are seeing before you go ahead and publish. But one other quick tip that I want to show you guys that a lot of people skip when they are building a course for the first time is actually adding kind of section summaries for their courses, especially if you're not using drip, if you're not using course compliance, if you're not enforcing the lesson order. It is really, really helpful for your students to be able to kind of quickly go to these section summaries, even if they are maybe just taking the course again as a refresher. These are super helpful for them to not have to go through each and every lesson over again in order to retain that information or understand what the lesson was about. So similar to quizzes, you no longer have to sit through and write your own summaries, which is so lovely. I might not have a section summary for this one, but I might have it for this particular section. I'm just going to click on that and let it do its magic. It's going to automatically pull all of the content that I've already uploaded and create a summary for me. You can always go in and edit your summary, so it's not something that is permanent. You can go through, edit the content here, highlight things, add links, add images, anything that you need to. But again, I don't recommend skipping this aspect of building out a course because it doesn't hurt you at all. It's only going to help you, and it's something that you can, again, add into your marketing. Use my course as a refresher. If you don't feel like going through the content again once you've completed, you can quickly jump over to our section summaries and just check out what each chapter was about. Easy peasy. The last thing that I want to show you guys when it comes to the curriculum, or two other things that I want to show you when it comes to curriculum building, before we move on to pricing and branding and then into the strategy of it all. First thing, what happens if you want to have a live course? Gone are the days of needing to drop straight up Zoom links and invites into the text of your course. Let's say I want to have a live session or a VIP live session for the first people who joined my course. So this first section up here, I might add a new lesson and I might say this is a VIP bonus. Live office hours. We'll save that. Teachable has a really, really cool Zoom integration that I use all the time. So when you add content and you scroll down, you'll be able to see Zoom here on the right-hand side if you have it integrated with your school. If you don't just yet, On the left-hand side, you'll see these kind of like three squares and a plus sign. That is our app hub. It's where you'll find all of the integrations available to you, including the Zoom integration. But once you have it set up and you want to have those live sessions, you'll click on the Zoom option. And from here, you can create a meeting directly in Teachable. You don't have to jump into Zoom or leave Teachable at any point. Your students will not need to leave Teachable at any point in order to join this meeting. You can do everything from right here. I'm going to just quickly create a test one. But you would have your meeting title, your description, of course. You can upload a thumbnail. We would want to set the timing for this. So this might be on the 6th. We'll do it at 12 p.m. Perfect. And then we can go ahead and set the time zone. There we go. And of course, the duration. So we'll just leave that at 1 hour. Having Zoom integrated into your course on its own is awesome, but my favorite aspect of this particular feature is that you can have this record the session automatically and then have the link for the recording automatically added to the lesson. This is marketing gold. So a lot of our larger creators, again, especially language creators, pretty much everybody who has any sort of live component to their courses or their teaching, you could use this in your marketing saying, not only will you get access to this live session where you can chat with me as the teacher, you can connect with your fellow students in your cohort, whatever the case may be, but you will also have lifetime access to the recordings. Chef's kiss, marketing gold. Second aspect of this, you don't have to go and do the admin yourself. That is like a weight lifted off of at least my shoulders. I don't know about you, but having to go into Zoom or Google Meets and download the recording and then re-upload it into Teachable is not necessarily a pain, but it is a time suck. And if you have a lot of live courses, live content that you're doing all of the time, this is going to be such a time saver for you. Just make sure you enable this and you're good to go. You can also enable a waiting room, and if you're looking for an extra layer of security, you can enable a meeting password as well. When you have your password, you can go ahead and quickly email all of the students who are enrolled in this particular course and give them access to that password, also right within Teachable. So you never need to leave this ecosystem if you're using these features. But that's it. I'm getting off of my soapbox. This is my favorite thing. I'm going to go ahead and save this so we can see it as a student would. So I'm going to preview. And now if you have a thumbnail or something like that attached to this, it's going to look a lot prettier for you. But once the meeting is live, as a student, I'll be able to join that meeting, and I can also use this widget to quickly add it to my own calendar as a student so that I don't forget when it's happening and I can easily grab it from there as well. Again, if you are doing any sort of live content in your school, this is a godsend. I don't know why you wouldn't use it, but a lot of people don't actually know that it's there. So keep that in mind as you're going through. Okay, cool. So the last thing that I will show you when it comes to the curriculum, because it is 12:49 already. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Again, I'm going to leave plenty of time to get to questions, and we still need to talk about strategies and launch types. But the last thing I want to show you guys for the curriculum is all about free previews. A lot of people sleep on this feature, meaning they don't have any sort of a free preview at all, which is kind of crazy. So if you want to give your students a sneak peek of what your course includes, all you need to do is select the lesson that you want to show off as a free preview or give free access to, and click on the right-hand side and just set as a public preview. And that's it. Now, when they come to your sales page or even a product detail page, they'll be able to check out that lesson for free, and then they'll be prompted to go ahead and check out and purchase the rest of the course if they were to click on a lesson that isn't available for public preview. If you don't have this enabled and you already have a course, please go ahead and do it. It's so, so easy. You can even link directly to this particular lesson in your marketing. So if you're on your socials and you've been selling this course for a while, maybe it's not hitting the same, now you can go ahead and say, do you want to check this out for free? Link them directly to that lesson and you're good to go. Okay, guys, I've been talking a lot. Again, we're going to get to your questions in a minute. let's quickly talk about pricing. So let's say I have uploaded all of my content. I'm happy with the sections in the lessons where they are. The next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do before I add my pricing is just quickly publish all of the sections in the lessons that I have here. Now, this is not publishing the course, it's just publishing the content. In theory, if there was a lesson or a section that you are still tweaking, you want to leave it in draft mode, but you still want to publish the course so they have access to other bits of content within it, you can absolutely do that. But what I'm going to do is click on bulk edit here, kind of in the left-hand side. And we're just going to quickly select everything. Da, 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 da. We'll go through. I love this. It is good to go. Great. Cool. So I've selected all of my sections, all of my lessons, and I'm going to go ahead and publish. Doo-doo. Yay. Okay, cool. So all of my sections, my lessons are published. The next thing that I'm going to do is go over to pricing. We are going to talk about all of the different pricing psychology or pricing options when it comes to the different course types that I've seen on Teachable. But for the sake of our demo, for the sake of this example, so we're not here for 1700 years, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly kind of walk through the different types before we get into how we attach this to the right pricing tickets for your product. So you have a couple of options here. We have free, of course. You can do a one-time purchase, a payment plan, or a subscription. Now, you are not limited to just one pricing plan per product. You can have multiple pricing plans for your product. This is especially helpful if you have a higher ticket course and you also want to offer a payment plan through Teachable Pay. You can have both of those options. For today, we are going to go with a one-time purchase. And this is a relatively low ticket course. And again, we're going to get into what that means in particular for pricing. But in simple terms, it's an easy course. It's more of like a mini course. It's kind of a mindset course. It's a really easy first step before they get into building out an entire digital product. So I might price this on the lower end of things. So I'll say that I'm going to say that this is $47. If you need to change the currency, you absolutely can. Just click on the left-hand side and you'll see a giant list of all of the different currencies available to you. I'm in the States, so I'm going to leave that as USD. And I might want to infuse a little bit of my marketing language into my pricing plan name here. So I might say this is lifetime access. Now, another hot tip from seeing a million different launches over the last 5 years, you want to be specific when you are naming your pricing plans as well. It's easy to stick to this lifetime access naming convention and name everything that you create that. But when it comes to reporting, when you want to look at, let's say, how many students bought one pricing plan versus another pricing plan, if they're both named the same thing, oh my God, it is going to be such a pain in the butt for you. So even if it's a small distinction like lifetime access plus workbook or lifetime access May, something like that. Make sure you are being specific with those naming conventions. It is going to save you so much time and hopefully prevent headaches when it comes to looking at your course reporting and your sales reporting later on. We can also add a pricing plan subtitle if we want to, totally optional, and then we can add a description for our pricing plan. So typically this will be everything that's included in the course. If your course is cohort based, it might say specifically how long the cohort is. Maybe it starts in May and ends in June, things like that. I'm going to skip over this bit because we are running over time. So we're just going to move on to our different settings. But you, of course, want to be descriptive with what's included in your pricing. So these are two options that we have down here for each and every pricing plan that you create on Teachable. I've seen so many people skip these options completely, and I can't understand why because they are such a lifesaver when it comes to two things: creating urgency for your course and then saving you time when it comes to admin. So, what does that mean? We have a limit enrollment by cap or expiration date in time option here. This is super cool if you are just testing out a course for the first time, and maybe you want to say, hey guys, I have this lifetime access. It's my first course. This is the only time it is going to be priced at $47. I am only giving this out to the first 25 people who sign up. So I can pop in 25 as the enrollments available. And then I can even have this expire. So only the first 25 who sign up, and only the first 25 who sign up within the next 7 days. So we'll have it expire on the 6th. And yeah, sure, we'll keep the same time. The next thing that you want to do is make sure that you display the enrollment cap and expiration or the limit on students on the checkout. It is such a godsend for urgency when a student comes to a checkout. Maybe they're like half interested in the course, not quite sure, on the fence. And then they get to the checkout and they see there are only 10 spots left and only 2 more days to purchase. This is gold for you. So if you're doing this as a first-time course and you want to create that urgency without having to constantly have marketing messaging go out and email sequences and social posts, this is a really easy way to keep that urgency burning on the back end and you get to be hands off. Cool. So we have this setting. We can also limit the product access duration itself. So a lot of people, if they're not selling their course in an evergreen fashion or offering lifetime access, this is especially helpful for my folks who are selling certification courses where somebody may need to redo their certification every year or 2 years or so. You can now have folks either lose access on a specific date, which again is great for cohort-based courses, or you can lose access after a specific amount of time. So if a student is only meant to have access to this certification for 1 year and then they need to retake this course, I can go ahead and set that for 1 year. You could even do days, months, or weeks. But at the end of this 1 year period, they will be automatically unenrolled from the course and they will have to re-enroll and purchase again if they want to re-up their certificate. So, so helpful when it comes to admin. You will no longer have to go into your student list and say, okay, I told these people they were only going to have access for 1 year. Now we need to go ahead and manually unenroll all of the people who have been there for over a year. Such a pain. You can use this instead. It's going to save you so much time. As long as you use this particular checkout URL, those settings will be applied to the students who use the URL to purchase your product. Why do I say that? Because you have the option to manually enroll your students if you need to. You can bulk import your students if you need to. And then again, you can have multiple pricing plans. So if the idea is for, this first group of 25 students to only have access to this cheap pricing for the next week, I'm going to make sure that I share this particular URL with them directly so that they can, have those settings applied to them, but that might not always be true for the next couple of pricing plans that I create. So keep that in mind. Okay, so we've covered pricing. Now let's talk about how they actually get to the checkout page. So again, you can send them directly over to the URL of your checkout. They'll go directly to checkout. And let's show you exactly what that looks like. And I might actually have to publish the course first. Nope, cool, great. So this is a student checkout here at Teachable. I'm already logged in, so it's pulling my information, but if a student is here for the first time, they've never come to your school, they're going to see a space to create their own account. So name and email. I was about to say name, last name, and email. They could also send this as a gift if they want to other students. If you have a coupon code for your course, they can apply that here as well. And if we have time, I'm happy to show you how to create coupon codes as well. If you have multiple payment options, and we're going to get to this in just a moment, they can check out with PayPal, they could use their card, Afterpay, or Klarna, and then they're just going to drop in their boring billing information. But all that to say, you can send them directly to this checkout. Super clean, super easy. And again, they'll see that they have the 1 year of access and that urgency driver here of only 25 seats left. Okay, so that's option one. Option two, we're going to head into the sales page. Now, here you'll see two options here. We have the product detail page, which will be defaulted to be the primary landing page for your course. Or we have sales pages, which will be the second option. You can always switch that to be the primary for your school. What is a product detail page? So it is a very simple landing page for your product that typically only has the actual name of the course, followed by the description, the thumbnail, and then any pricing plans that you've made available. You can also display the course curriculum, and probably my favorite feature that, again, so many people skip, but our top creators absolutely do not, is allow this to be discoverable on a search engine. So if you have keywords that are crucial to your SEO, include that in your title, include that in your description, and then go ahead and enable this option. And now somebody searching those keywords on Google, even AI at this point, or ChatGPT's, Claude, this you have a higher chance of this popping up in their search, which is free marketing. It's a dream. You can't really beat that. We could also edit the URL if we want, and we can go ahead and edit the text. So if you have a free course, if you have a payment plan, if you have a free trial, or if you just want to infuse some more of your own personal branding and language into this, you can go ahead and edit that as well. We're going to go ahead and preview this as a student. So if I'm a student and I come to your school and I click on this product, this is the page that I'm going to see. So if you're not handy with creating big branding moments and banners and images and things like that, don't sweat it. Product detail pages are perfect for you. And honestly, so many people, and I said this in my course description tip, they just want to scan through things. If you've already done a lot of the marketing work on your socials, on your email list, and your newsletter, things like that, there is no need for you to reinvent the wheel and have a giant sales page on Teachable as well. So again, if you're doing that marketing off platform and you just want to link to something that, is nice and clear and concise, a product detail page is perfect for you. So I'm going to leave that as that. We're going to head back so I can show you the sales page. So what happens if you do want to use a, traditional landing page that has, big branding moments and things like that? You can use a sales page instead. You'll click on edit and it'll open up the page editor for you. We'll let that load. The AI that I use to generate the curriculum kind of already populated a couple of things for me. Obviously, this is not what I look like. And got my name right, but that's not me. So I would want to go through and, of course, make sure that this aligns with my actual product and who I am as an instructor, what I'm offering, things like that. If you want to edit any of these, you can go ahead and click on a block. It'll open up on the left-hand side. Some tips, and this is something that I used to see all the time when I was on the support team. This banner here, you will need to have the button action go directly to your checkout page, and then you can select the pricing plan that you want to apply to that button as well. So if you've ever run into an issue where your buttons weren't going anywhere, go ahead and check out the page editor. It's probably that. But I can change my image. I can also go to my other blocks, edit the text, edit the colors that go along with this particular block as well, the text alignment, anything that I want. Once I'm done, and let me make sure I've actually added my pricing block, you will see this course is closed for enrollment if you don't have your pricing added to the page. So we want to make sure our pricing is added there as well. And you can see it also has that seat limit applied to it as well. Once I'm done, once I'm satisfied with this page, the last thing that I want to do is hit publish. I can go ahead and change the URL if I'd like to as well. We'll publish that and then we'll back out. And if I want this to be the primary landing page for my product versus the product detail page, all I need to do is click on the right-hand side and make this the primary page for my course. So what does that mean when it comes to the student journey and how do they actually land on this page? A couple of different ways. I'm actually going to set it to be the product detail page because it just looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. What I'm going to do in order to test out the student experience for my students is first go into information and we're going to do the big scary thing and we're going to publish our course. Now, if you are at a point where you are getting ready to publish and you're feeling nervous about it, I want you to take a deep breath. It will all be okay. Once you publish this course, it's not like it's going out into the world with a big bang. You still have to do your marketing, right? And you still have to share the URL and the whole thing. Maybe you have SEO enabled for your product detail page, but chances are you have some time to make tweaks, make sure the flow is perfect. So go ahead and publish your course. I promise you, it is not that scary. We're done. It's going to give me a link that I can copy easily, but we're going to skip this step for now. Click on done, and boom, we have a published course. Now there is a setting here that I see a lot of folks typically aren't always aware of. If you go into course settings, you can add categories to your course. So if you end up having multiple products and you want it to be easier for your students to find the product that's most relevant to them, you can add specific categories to this course. But what I'm looking for is the ability to, it's right in front of my face. Guys, sorry, it's already been an hour of me talking. My eyes are starting to glaze over a little bit. So again, thank you for bearing with me. But we have this option here called Show in Product Catalog, where you can disable and enable or hide this particular product from the public-facing end of your school. So what does that mean? I'm going to go into the course catalog of my school. Um, Here is my dashboard. I'm going to go into Browse Products. So this is the first thing that my students would see if they were to land in my school. This is what I have as my default homepage for the school. If I am a student and I want to go ahead and do this step one, let's ideate course or let's validate, and I click on Learn More, it's going to take me right to this product detail page, and then again, right into the checkout page itself. Now, let's say this is a private course and I don't want anybody to be able to just go ahead and purchase it individually. Maybe I want it to be invite only and I just want to send them right to the checkout page from my own marketing, socials, invitations, things like that. All I would need to do is go ahead and disable this show in product catalog and then make sure I save that setting. And then I'm good. So when they come to this product detail page, let me go back into the actual dashboard, type in courses, browse products. It's going to be the one that was at the very bottom. They're no longer going to be able to see that product. They're not going to be able to purchase it individually. Basically, you're removing it from the public-facing end of your school. Okay, guys, again, thanks so much for bearing with me. I want to leave some time to finish up, wrap up, and get into the launch strategies. But the last step that you're going to take when it comes to getting your course ready to publish is heading into settings and payments. And you'll see the option to set up Teachable Pay. If it's your first time setting up your payment processor and your payment gateway, oh, sorry, I thought I lost you guys for a second. You're going to see the setting to add in your banking information. If you're a registered business, you can add in your tax ID, things like that. I saw a question earlier about resetting your tax ID. You can go ahead and reach out to our support team and they would be happy to help you out with that. But once you do that, you'll set up or you'll choose your payout frequency, so how often you actually want to get paid. And you have the option of doing daily, weekly, or monthly. Totally up to you. Your students will always have the option to pay with Apple Pay or Google Pay if they're using their mobile device. But last but not least, probably my favorite thing, especially if you are using or selling a high ticket course, we have buy now, pay later options, Afterpay and Klarna. So you can absolutely set up a payment plan as a pricing option within your individual course and have students go through that payment plan process through Teachable Pay. However, you would then be getting paid in those increments. So if you create a payment plan that is for 4 moments or 4 due dates, you're going to get those payments at those times. If you enable buy now, pay later options, you're getting all of that money up front, so the entire payment. So if your students end up, removing their credit card or deciding they don't want to pay for the second installment, You don't have to worry about it. That's Afterpay's problem. That is Klarna's problem. That is not your problem. So it is my favorite thing to enable if I'm doing a high ticket course. There is a payment processor fee for this, of course, but I find that it's much cheaper dealing with the payment processor fee than it is with dealing with chargeback rates and chasing students down to finish their payment plans. So keep that in mind when you are selling a high ticket course. If you're international, you can also enable PayPal. One of my favorite things, everybody knows PayPal. It is a very trusted checkout. So if you're looking to give them that familiarity, you can absolutely enable PayPal. Phew. Okay, guys, so we have walked through the start to finish of creating a course, adding content, all the little bits and features and things like that. I see we have quite a few questions. I want to get into them. So really quickly, let's talk about the different launch types in curriculum design as well before we get into your questions. So, when it comes to curriculum design, because it's one thing for me to show you how to build a course, it's another thing for you to build a curriculum that is both engaging from start to finish for your students. A happy student is a really great way for you to have natural word of mouth marketing. So, we want them to finish this course, we want them to be happy with it. So, the first thing that I want you to keep in mind when you are building your curriculum for the first time, and it is being recorded, Rachel. You will have this recording for lifetime access if you so choose. There's my own marketing language in there, so don't sweat it. I'm going to send this to you afterwards. No problem. So when it comes to curriculum design, right off the gate, we want to start with a quick win for our students. We don't want to have them have to slog through text and activities and quizzes before they even get to their first win. We want to give them that gratification almost immediately. So, lesson one should deliver a quick, tangible result. Students who feel progress early are far more likely to complete it. Imagine coming into the course, being kind of nervous on the fence about, is this course going to be worth it? Am I going to finish it? And you immediately get into a win. That is so valuable. You're immediately going to be motivated to continue to move through the content. Next thing, we want to chunk and sequence. So we, of course, want to group content into clear modules or sections with a single goal for each. We want to build complexity, gradually, and we don't want to front load theory. So again, we don't want to throw the kitchen sink at them. We want to take it one step at a time. I like to break this down into milestones. So if you have your big transformation that you're promising, your large outcome that you're promising and selling to your students, what are the milestone moments that your students will have to hit before they get to that ultimate end game transformation or outcome? Those milestones are most likely going to be your sections or your chapter titles, and then you can fill out the relevant lessons for each section from there. Next, we want to design for completion. Again, happy students are more likely to go out and tell their friends about these things, less likely to ask you for a refund, the whole nine. So, when we design for completion, we want to keep our lessons relatively short, about 5 to 10 minutes. Most top tier creators, depending on the subject, will have maybe video lessons that are 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long, and then text to follow, followed by like downloadable PDFs, short infographics, things like that. We want clear learning objectives per module or section, and then those summary recaps that easily connect the dots for our students. So the goal is not to teach everything that you know, although I know the impulse is there, especially when you are building an online course. It can be very isolating and easy for you to just say, like, I'm going to dump everything to this course. But we don't want to do that. We want to get our students to a specific outcome. So again, focus on those milestone moments and the rest will kind of naturally fall into place. When it comes to setting pricing, there are a couple of different options that I was hinting at earlier. So first off, we have our low ticket pricing. So anything from $27 to $197. This is easy peasy stuff. It should be impulse friendly. It should be a shorter, self-contained course, or it should be used if you are actively building an audience. It's going to be much easier for you to say like, hey, I know you don't know me as the instructor, but this is the emotional language that I'm using to hook you in. And by the way, it's only $27 or it's only $100. That is going to be much easier for you to sell as a complete stranger than something that is maybe more mid-ticket, which looks like this. Anywhere from 197 to 997 on the higher end of mid-ticket. So this is the sweet spot for most online courses. I'll typically see 197, 247, the whole nine. And this should absolutely match the depth and the transformation that you're selling. So if your course is more technical, if the transformation is more of a, big lifestyle change, or it's, going to get them the career that they've always wanted, those are big moments, so we want to price them accordingly. And in those cases, mid-ticket might make more sense than something that's low ticket, which might be, more of a mindset, more of a baby step to a larger transformation. And then last but not least, we have high ticket courses, which are anywhere from $997 and up. So these are often premium positioning. They are often paired with live coaching, maybe a community aspect, cohort access, all of that to justify the price. So if at any moment in your course, your students are getting direct access to you in a live session, maybe in community support, that is high ticket stuff. Okay. I've seen so many people who have a course and they offer, a group coaching moment or a one-to-one session as part of their course. And it's priced so, so low. I know the impulse is there. You want to make yourself accessible to your audience, but your time is valuable. So keep that in mind. The more community aspects that you have, the more live moments that you have, the higher price or the higher ticket your course should be. Essentially, we don't want to price on what we would personally spend. We want to price again on the outcome that our students are getting. So keep that in mind as you're thinking through. Nail down your transformation or the outcome that you're selling. Think through those milestone moments and then kind of compare that to how life-changing is this milestone. And then you should be fairly better positioned to lock in pricing from there and feel confident about the pricing that you're assigning to your course. Okay, let's quickly talk about launch approaches, and then I'm going to try to get to as many questions as possible. One thing I do want to say is that I do host live office hour sessions every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So if I don't get to a question today, you still have access to me. I will be here every Friday, so I promise, there will be another opportunity to ask me a question. So launch approaches, let's talk about it. The first one, and probably the most popular approach and strategy, is going to be evergreen courses. So what does this mean? It's always open. You can sell year-round with automated sequences, especially if you end up using something like a MailChimp or a ConvertKit that you can integrate easily with Teachable. This is often best once you've already validated the course and have steady traffic. And don't worry, I'm going to show you different examples that map out to each of these strategies. So don't sweat it. We're going to get into it. The next one would be time limited. So we have cohort and open enrollment. So open cart for a set window. Hey guys, this course is only going to be open for sale for the next 2 weeks, and then the cohort officially starts the week after that, something like that. It's going to create urgency, and it lets you actually learn from a group as a student. This is really great for new courses, especially if you want to test out an idea and see how things work in a live setting. We also have validation first. You can always do a beta launch. So if you're not super confident about your offer, if you're kind of on the fence about how it should be structured, launch it anyways, but be clear that it is a beta. So when you're selling to your students, you can offer a discount in exchange for their feedback and let them know, hey, I'm actively building this. I'm actively tweaking it. You're getting it on the ground floor. So eventually I think I'm going to price this for $497, but because you're giving me this feedback and you yourself are helping me build it, it's $97 for today. This is really great, again, if you want to test things out before you really, really move forward with an idea. And then there's the waitlist strategy. So you can collect interest before a launch. It's going to warm up your audience and gives you a ready-made list on open day. So, you can put feelers out there, say, hey, I'm building this course. I would love to see how many people are actually interested in this. Go ahead and sign up here and I'll send you an email once it's ready to go. Really, really great, again, if you kind of want to test the idea first, but you also kind of want to, hype people up over time and then have a list of 100 warm potential buyers before you actually open up cart. And then last but not least, we have the soft launch. This is best if you already have an audience, a warm audience that you regularly engage with. Um, Maybe it's your email newsletter, maybe it's your YouTube subscribers, your LinkedIn subscribers, something like that. But it's quiet, it's low pressure for you. You don't have to go out with this big bang and scream from the mountaintops that you have a new course that is open that people can enroll into. You can just release it to a specific list of people, especially if you want to test out your audience validations. Not even your idea validation. If you want to make sure that the audience is right for this particular product, this is a really great way to do that. So examples. If you're an evergreen or if you're going to offer an evergreen course, you might be, let's say, a productivity coach who drives traffic from a YouTube channel to a $197 course on, let's say, time blocking because you're a productivity coach. So you don't really need to do anything. People are already finding your YouTube video, they're already there for your content. You can just kind of plug in the end of every video or even in the bio that you have this course and just kind of let the enrollments come in on their own. With cohort or open enrollment, you might be a copywriter who opens enrollment for her writing course, maybe for 5 days, twice a year, doesn't have to be crazy. So students would then go through the material together, which drives accountability and stronger reviews. This is where that drip feature is really going to come in handy. So you can keep your cohort on the same timeline throughout the entire period of it being open. If you're beta launching, let's say you are a UX designer who pre-sells 20 spots at $99 versus the, eventually planned $297 price to fund production, shape the curriculum with real student input. I think that's probably the most important bit before you go into a full launch. And then you might have the waitlist approach. So in this example, you're a business coach. You spend 6 weeks building a waitlist of 300 people through Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you have it, before you actually open enrollment. Day one sales are going to be significantly stronger than if you did this over time, or even if you kind of had like a soft launch for a previous course. And then, of course, there's the soft launch. So in this example, you might be a graphic designer who emails her newsletter of 800 subscribers. She already has, they're already warm, they're probably primed to buy before you actually post anywhere publicly. And then you're going to use that early feedback and those testimonials to strengthen your sales page, your marketing language before you go for a wider launch. Cool. So those are our launch approaches, and here's a quick bit on the most overlooked features. Because I want to get to some questions, I'm going to just quickly go through these. We have course completion certificates, which are great for free social proof and value boosting. We have drip content to keep your students on those tracks or rails as they go through the content. We didn't get to touch too much on this, or really not at all, but upsells and order bumps. If you have multiple products, you can add them onto your checkout page. You can add them onto milestone points within your course that might point to an upsell like a one-to-one coaching product or even their next course that they should be taking after they finish this one. There are automated emails. So we have abandoned cart. You can use the drip email to automate a welcome email. You can integrate with ConvertKit and things like that to really set up sequences and buckets to actively engage with your students. There's the affiliate program, the Zoom integration, and then again, my favorite, limited access duration or enrollment caps. This is a great one to screenshot. You'll get access to this in the replay as well, but if you're going through your course and you're wondering what features you should absolutely be using, this is the list that you need to reference. In short, you don't need a big audience to start. Just one sale is an opportunity for feedback and for you to keep building. So if this is your first time thinking about doing a course, excuse me, again, I'm here for you every Friday. You can always come back and ask questions. This is going to be a recurring series. So you can always come back and join us for another live session or reference the replay. But I don't want you to hold yourself back. If you've been thinking about building a course, use the AI curriculum generator, put it out there. Worst case scenario, you don't get as many sales as you wanted to, but then you have probably a bucket load of feedback from maybe people who took a look at it. maybe the data from Google Analytics, how many people got to your page versus how many people clicked. That in itself is a gold mine and will help you to refine your offer going forward. So don't sweat it too much. I have some sections here, but because I want to get to the questions, you guys can take a look at this in the replay email. It's just a kind of example of a funnel that you can build as a first-time course creator or even as somebody who has a couple of different products. You can start with a lead magnet, move on to a mini course that's low ticket. You might have a core ticket or a core course that is more mid-tier or high ticket. You might have a live option. You could also offer one-to-one coaching. There's so much that you can do with this funnel. And we're going to skip through this. I'll share it in my replay. Again, you do have access to me every Friday. We're going to have some live sessions. I think we have 5 different live sessions this month alone. We're going to have probably 20 plus in the next month or so. So you can check out this QR code if you want to scan it with your phone, or you can go to teachable.com/events, and that should be linked in the resources section. But you'll be able to see and register for all of our live sessions, including my Friday office hours. And if you don't mind, we love feedback. If you guys could take a moment or two to let me know how you liked this session, what you want to see more of, that would be incredibly helpful. And with that, I'm going to take some questions. This was a very long session, so again, thank you so much for bearing with me. Let's get into it. We have, wow, about 31 questions, which is incredible. And again, if I don't get to it today, I'll try to get back to you in my replay email, or you could always come to a Friday session to ask me again. But first off, let's start with anonymous attendee. And if you need to hop, no worries, I'm going to send this out later on. So I have been creating courses for years, but as Teachable evolves, I have not revisited how to create the best course, specifically challenges in aesthetics and not knowing how to get images and designs to fit cleanly. I love this question, anonymous attendee. It is one of my passions here at Teachable, is making courses look pretty. I don't have the time right now to go through my tips and tricks on the aesthetics of course building, but I love this as a live session on its own. So I'll keep this in mind for future live sessions. But if you want to come to a Friday Q&A, I typically have much more time to get into more niche questions and things like that. So if you come to a Friday Q&A, I would be happy to walk you through a couple of the things that I personally do to make courses look a lot prettier. So I hope to see you there. Shania, yeah, I'm gonna go with Shania. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Can you create tiers with different access to information within the course? For example, tier 1 will not have access to certain features that tier 2 has. No. So instead, what you would want to do, Shania, is go ahead and create a membership product instead of just a course product. What does that mean? So let's go into my course or my school. So within a course, you can't gate access based off of sections and lessons. Like you can't map a pricing plan to specific lessons within a course, but you can do that for a membership product. I'm going to have an entire webinar on building memberships and bundle products later on this month. So if you check out the events page, you can come there and we'll do a deep dive on it together. But essentially, you would go into the membership section of your school here. It'll be this little key icon, and you can create different tiers that have specific access to different courses and different products, not just courses. So it could be a course, 4 digital downloads, a coaching product, however you want to remix it, totally up to you. But this is how I would build that instead. Kayla says, what do you think about starting a course description with the dream? It's not my favorite, Kayla, and I'll tell you why. So when you sell a dream to your audience, the net from that dream is so wide that you're going to end up having a bunch of different personas come to your sales page, and you might end up not catching any of them or, not as many as you want to. So when it comes to selling the dream in a course description, I would advise against it. It's actually better for you to be as specific as possible. Who is this for? What's included? what is the pain point, and then talk about the solution. That is going to find you the right audience for your product versus you needing to, cast a wide net and then niche down and niche down and niche there and down and test things out. So, Kayla, I wouldn't recommend starting the description off with a dream. Instead, I would really, really recommend erring towards the side of specificity. I hope that helps. Rosie says, can you add more than one author? I have co-authors and would like to have both on a specific course. No. Sorry, Rosie. No, you can't do that. But what you can do is create a dual profile for those authors. And what do I mean by that? I think I'm still sharing my screen. Perfect. So when you head into Site, and I think it's in here, let's see, bios, yes. So Site and bios, you'll see any and all of your author profiles for your school. If I have two authors that I want to assign to a course, I'm just going to go ahead and create an author bio for both of them. So I might say that this is Rosie and Shania. I can go ahead and upload an image, and this can even be a team name as well. So if it's, Team Teachable is the author of this course, I can have it be that, and I can add a bio for both of them. Now, if I have that, now I can go into my course and assign that as the author for this particular course. So it should pop up in my bio. And that's it. So that's how I would do it. You can also have this connected to an actual author account if you're looking to pay them out as well. You just couldn't have like an extra split mechanic when it comes to the payments. It would only go to one PayPal account. But you can absolutely have a kind of dummy profile that, splits the credentials between both of your authors. Anonymous attendee, and I recognize that is 1:32. We're over time, but I'm gonna still try to go through some questions. There are about 40 of you still here. Thanks for sticking with me. Again, if you have to hop, no worries. But I want to make sure we get to some more questions. So, anonymous attendee says, if you build a course from scratch, but also want to grab a couple of lessons from a different course already published, how do you copy sections and lessons from the build and scratch option? Oh, let me reread that again. So if you build a course from scratch, but also want to grab a couple of lessons from a different course that's already published, how do you copy sections and lessons from the build from scratch option? Great question. So I'm going to answer that live. Let's go ahead into a curriculum that I have here. So I believe you should be able to import content from another course. So if you already have a course built and you want to add that content in, just import content, search for your course, and then you can go ahead and select the lessons or sections that you want to move into this particular course. And that's it. And then you don't have to duplicate and edit and the whole nine. You can just import that from the other course. The only thing that I would say is I think you'd have to make sure that that other course is published, but let's check out that theory. So if I import, nope, don't need to do that. So it doesn't even need to be published. It could be imported from any of your courses, whether or not that particular course is published or not. Anonymous attendee, I hope that helps. Kevin says, does the bulk upload allow you to upload markdown files? I'm not familiar with markdown files. Let's see if I can pull that up here. And if you're in the chat, if you want to let me know. So a markdown file is a plain text document that uses lightweight markup language to define formatting elements like headers, bold text, and lists. Yeah, for sure. So you can absolutely do that. With the bulk upload option, if it's a markdown file, it'll probably or it will show up as a link to that doc versus a actual like pull up document. If you want something to be readable within the actual lesson content, what you would need to do is either upload it as a text or a lesson, or have it as a PDF viewer. In the case of markdown files, I think resource would be your best way to go. So they'll be able to download those resources right from there. Or I think you can do code example for this as well. So if it ends up being like HTML sort of style, you can use this code example block instead, and then they'll be able to read through that from here, and you have a bunch of different options. Sorry, Kevin. I hope that helps. I'm not super familiar with Markdown files. I'm going to look into it after this session. If I find more out on it, I will let you know in my replay email. Kayla says, let's say I want to embed a YouTube clip that shows an example of the idea I am teaching. Do you know if it's legal from a copyright perspective to use that in the course that I sell? So you're embedding a YouTube clip that shows an example of the idea I'm teaching. Yes. So as long as you are not claiming that content as your own, and this is why the YouTube embed option in a course is so fantastic. It's because they can see that it's from YouTube. They can still see the original creator name. They can click on that, go to that person's channel, and that person is still getting the views. My only caveat here is I would make sure, and I got really blurry for a second, sorry guys. I would make sure that you specifically say, these are resources that I am referencing. So at no point, and I don't think you would do this anyway, Kayla, as long as you're not saying the video below is mine, this is my content, and this is what the entire course is about, you're good to go. Just let your students know that it's a resource and use the YouTube embed option, and it'll be very clear to them. What is the best way to promote for my course? That's a really, really deep question, Ali, or Ali. There are so many different options. Again, recommend you come to a Friday AMA. I would be happy to get into the finer details of this for you. But it really depends on where your audience is. If you have a larger audience on Instagram or a more engaged audience on LinkedIn, if you've managed to build up a pretty decent email list, anywhere from like 50 to 100 people, it really doesn't need to be in the hundreds, even smaller than that. If you have 25 people on an email list, great. Um, Depends on where you're getting that engagement and where your audience is at its warmest. So, in terms of the best way to promote to your course or promote for your course, pick where your audience is the most engaged, pick where they're warmest, and then really hone in on the storytelling aspect of your course description. Meaning, if you are, selling the solution before you're actually speaking to the problem, no good. That's not the way you want to promote your course. You want to speak to the problem and really tell the story of the why you built this course, the pain points included in it before you ever get to the solution of it. So if let's say you're doing a newsletter, your first email might be introducing the problem itself and introducing the pain point. The second option or the second email might be more about you as the instructor and why you actually built this course because of how you experienced that pain point. The third email might be a student testimonial or a real life case example of somebody who might have, I don't know, used your framework or worked with you one-to-one in some capacity. And then your fourth or your fifth email might be actually you introducing the solution and then selling the course. So, Ali, I hope that helps. You want to pick where your audience is warmest, where they are the most engaged, and then you want to story tell versus selling. It's going to make the process feel much more or much less icky to you as well. I'm sure a lot of people here don't love salesy language. Okay, guys, just checking on the time. We are a little bit over time. I'm just making sure that I don't have something that I need to hop to because we still have quite a few questions to get to. And again, I want to make sure we get to all of them. I don't want to leave you hanging. No, cool. We're good. So I'm going to keep going. If you want to stick with me, no problem. If you need to hop, that's okay. Mary, I'm not sure if you're still here with us. If you need to hop as well, go for it. Thank you so much for your support. Everybody give Mary a background clap for helping us out with the chat today. Let's get back to our questions. So Rosie says, the auto-generated captions are not always correct. To adjust it, you require we upload our transcripts, but that impacts the language translation. Was there any other way to fix errors in the captions? That's a good question. So honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but what I do know is that we're making huge improvements to the student experience this year. And that'll include dubbing options. It's going to include updates to our subtitles, the whole nine. So Rosie, if you're seeing an issue with the automatic translations, rest assured, we are aware and we are actively working on improving those as much as possible. I don't have a workaround for you right now, but the great thing about you dropping this into the Q&A and coming to us with this question is that I get to bring it back to the product team to kind of scream loud and clear, like, hey, this is the issue that we're having. Please put this up on your priority list. So, Rosie, I'm sorry, I don't have a workaround for you now, but happy to bring this back to our team. I have another question from Rosie. I see the quiz option, but can you add a survey instead? Heck yeah, you can, Rosie. So if you wanted to embed a survey instead of a quiz or even an open-ended option, what you would need to do is first create that survey off platform. So it could be a Google form, it could be Typeform, it could be SurveyMonkey. As long as you have that embed HTML option for your survey, you can go ahead and drop that into your course in a custom code block. So what does that look like? If you go into add content for the lesson, you'll see custom code. Just take that embed code from, again, Typeform, Google Forms, wherever you have it, and drop that right in here and save. And that's it, you're done. It'll open the form in the actual curriculum so that you never have to leave Teachable. The only thing to keep in mind is that those responses will go back to their original platform. So if you built it in Typeform, those responses will be there. We're not able to connect the actual responses to the courses or the products within Teachable outside of just hosting them in the platform. Rosie, hope that helps. I'm going to take a quick water break. You guys have been talking a lot. No problem, Martin. Thank you for joining. We have another anonymous attendee question. So the course compliance seems to require lesson order and video watching if the enforced graded quiz completion is checked. Is that true or a glitch on my end? Partially true. So it will require, if you enforce graded quiz completion, it will require that you enforce lesson order bare minimum. Reason being, if you're enforcing quiz completion, you don't want them to be able to then skip over that lesson entirely. We want them to actually take the quiz. So that's going to stick. However, you don't have to have the video watching enabled as well. So if you don't need them to watch the entire video, that's fine. And you want to have those graded quizzes, just make sure you uncheck the video and you're good to go. But bare minimum, you will have to have the lesson order enforced if you want those graded quizzes. No problem. We also have a question. Could you use Drip to add something to the last lesson that would generate an email reminding them to sign up for the next new course? So 730 days, for example, or is there a limit? Can you do it retroactively for students that have completed a course? No. But I do have good news. So we are learning or working on incorporating a feature that would solve this. I can't say too much. It is still in the works. It'll be out in the next couple of months. It's going to be such a game changer. But in short, no, you can't use Drip to generate an email without locking content or having it be just the 0 days after enrollment. So it's kind of a one or the other. It has to be 0 days after enrollment, or it has to follow that kind of gated time cadence. When you enable Drip and you set a limit like 730 days, they're not even going to have access to that content in that lesson for that entire time. So if it doesn't matter to you, if the lesson content is kind of like just a reminder for them to move on to the next course, yes, you could do it, but on the student end, keep in mind it'll look like a locked lesson for them, and you might end up having a lot of people reaching out to you, kind of concerned that they can't complete the course at 100% and they can't access this lesson for another 700 days. So I wouldn't recommend it. You also can't retroactively have DRIP applied to students who have already completed the course. They're already at 100% completion, so any new drip settings that you apply will not apply to them. What I would do instead is have an upsell at the very end of your course that leads them over to the next product that you want them to take. So for example, in the curriculum, you would go into, let's just say, we'll name this next course. We'll save it, click in, add content, and you'll see upsell down here. We can do a course, coaching, whatever we have. I'm going to select my next course. So let's pretend this is my step 1 course. Step two would be my next step. I would add any of the pricing plans that I've created, and then I can add any kind of, CTA language. So your next step, I'm going to say step a million times. We're going to skip the description. And then we can change the CTA if we really wanted to. We'll save the upsell. And now as a student, when I get to that last lesson, instead of seeing a locked lesson like I would with the drip content, I'll see this next step. I can go ahead and click on this. It'll bring me to the checkout, and then I can go ahead and purchase that course from here. With the upsells, you can also create private pricing plans that are specific to students who might have already taken the first step. So if you want to offer them a discount baked into the actual upsell itself, just create a pricing plan at a discount and add that to the upsell, but don't add it to your public-facing landing pages or product detail pages. It'll help them to feel like they're getting in on a discount because they've already taken one of your courses before. So anonymous attendee, don't use drip to gate them over or lead them over to the next course. Use an upsell instead. It's going to be much more effective. Okay, Crystal. We still have 18 questions. I'm fairly confident we're not going to be able to get to all of you, so I do apologize. Again, if you have more questions, come to my Friday AMA office hour session. I would be happy to continue to answer questions, but unfortunately, we are way over time. So Crystal says drip emails are a great feature. Thanks. Is there another place I'll need to remove email notifications for course enrollments, so students don't get two emails from me at the same time? That's a great question, Crystal. So typically when a student purchases a course, they'll receive a receipt and then a confirmation email. Both of those you're not going to be able to disable because the receipt, they're going to want their receipt. And the confirmation email helps us to make sure, their email is working, they can get access to the course, the whole nine, and that they can confirm their account. So you won't be able to disable those. However, I wouldn't sweat it too much. Um, I haven't seen too many student complaints specifically that, are like, oh, I got three emails and one was important, and the other one was also important, and then this was another one. So don't sweat it too much as long as you're not saying, the same thing over and over again, which you wouldn't be. I wouldn't sweat it. But long story or long answer made short, no, you can't disable the other email notifications. Kathy, should each course have its own community? Good question. It depends. You can gate access. So Teachable has a community feature. That in itself needs to be an entire webinar, so I won't be able to get into that today. But you can gate access to specific sections of your community by course. So if you want those sections to be private or limited to students who are enrolled in a specific course, yes. So you'll create the community as a whole. And I think this is where the language kind of gets iffy. You can have one community per school, but you can have multiple sections in that community, or topics is what we call them, per course or per product. So one community, but you can create as many areas within that community for specific products as you'd like. Kathy, I'm sorry I can't go deeper than that, but it is a great question. It needs a deeper dive, so we can talk about it in another session. I'm just checking how many people are still here. I still have about 20 people, which is amazing. So we're going to keep going until about 2 o'clock. So Sabrina, can we set up live meetings without Zoom? Yeah, for sure. So we won't have another integration for live meetings. We only have the Zoom integration right now. But if you're using something like a Google Meets or a Teams, God forbid, I hope you're not using Teams. But if you are using one of those things for a live session, you can just go in, add a new lesson. We'll name this live session for the sake of it. We'll save this, click on that, and then I would use text and images and just say something like click here to join. Oh God, join the live. I'm not doing well with typing at 2 p.m. tomorrow. I don't know. Add in your date. You'll get the link from your Google Meets, anything that you have, and then go ahead, highlight, click the link option and paste that link in. And then when they come in, they'll see the text, click on the link, and it will open up your video meeting host of choice. So no worries, it does not have to be Zoom. No problem, Kathy. Thanks for joining. Sandy, where does the sales page come in? Great question. So if you are looking to have a landing page or a home base for your course, meaning like, you might do some minimal marketing outside of Teachable, and then you want them to be able to go to a sales page or a landing page and get more information, see testimonials, things like that. That's typically in the second step of your student journey that you're manufacturing. So marketing language could be a newsletter, could be your socials, over to a sales page if you want them to get more information. You can swap that out for a product detail and page instead if you want it to be more simplified, something like that. Check out onto course curriculum. Kathy. Kathy says, how do I link from one course to another within a course? Or do I just tell them where to go at the reference spot for the other course? Use an upsell. It'll be your best friend. And I think I have that linked in the resources section of this, but upsells are fantastic for that. Rosie says, in the course price, I would like to display how many spots are available in expiration. Is that possible? Absolutely. So you will use the access limit duration as well as the expiration or spot cap limit at the bottom of the pricing plan creator. But yes, you can absolutely do that. Kayla says, do you think leaving access for a limited amount of time encourages students to actually finish the course? Yes. Yes, that's it. Yeah, I think it does. So imagine if you come into a course on something as simple as bread making. That's kind of like an impulse course, right? So you might really not even think about the purchase itself, and then you might not even finish, and then you might not ever give a good review, and you might not ever recommend it. But if I'm the instructor, I have my bread making course, and I say, I want you as a student to make this loaf of bread. I don't want you to buy my course and just sit on it. Money is great, yes, but I actually want you to be able to do this thing. And so I am going to remove access to this course and to this content after 60 days or after a year, whatever the case may be. So by the end of that time limit, I want you to have reached that goal. I want you to actually complete this course. It's not going to come off as like, she's taken away my access. It's kind of like you really, really want them to learn and you really want them to achieve the goal that you are selling. So you kind of become an accountability partner for your students at that point. So yes, I think limiting the amount of time that students have access to a course absolutely encourages them to actually finish the course. It can be a really great marketing tool as well. Anonymous attendee. If a student has a coupon for 100%, do they still need to enter a credit card? No. Once they enter in that coupon code for 100%, the credit card block will disappear. They don't need to add in any credit card information. Crystal, can you please also show the pricing plan steps for a free course? Any tips to make this an easier experience for students? Crystal, I am pressed for time right now. I am so sorry, but it is the same steps as adding a paid pricing plan. Instead, you'll click the free option. You won't have to enter any numbers there because it's free. You'll enter in the name, and then you can still add in a access limit duration if you want them to lose access automatically at the end of whatever time period you choose. So same process. As far as making this an easier experience for students, again, if you're doing a lot of the talking and the yapping off platform when it comes to marketing, no need to reinvent the wheel. You can always just copy the URL to the pricing plan that you've created and share that directly with your students. And that way they'll go directly to checkout. They'll never see a landing page, sales page, or anything like that. They won't have to do any digging and they can go right into the course itself. Kevin, if you offer a free course, do they still have to enter their credit card info? Nope. No, it will not require them to enter their credit card info, but it will require them to create an account within your school, which is what you want. You want their name, their email, you want them to have an account there. Rosie, I desperately want a how did you hear about us on the checkout? Oh, that's a great one. Rosie, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised in maybe a few months. And that's all I'll say. So, not yet, but hopefully coming soon. Anonymous attendee, can you use AI for sales page, but not for curriculum building? No. But If you don't want to use it for the curriculum, that's okay. I think what you're saying is like if you already built the curriculum and you want to use the AI builder to like pull from the curriculum that you've built to create the sales page, that would be really cool. However, you can't do it right now. So you would have to add in the course description, use the AI curriculum builder, and then kind of edit the sales page that it's created. But truly, anonymous attendee, the sales page generated by the AI is so basic that it's really not that big of a hurrah at that point. It is easier because it gives you a sense of like the cadence that your sales page should generally follow and the information that would be helpful to have. But it's not, doing a huge lift for you. If you're interested in building an AI or using AI to build like a nice sales page, I would go to Claude Code. I would go to Claude or ChatGPT, maybe not ChatGPT, but ask it to help you build out that sales page. If it's using the code, you can copy the code and add that into your sales page on Teachable in an HTML code block, and you'll be good to go. So we don't have the AI feature for that without actually using the curriculum generator. But if you're looking for that lift, you can still use AI tools outside of Teachable and drop them right into the platform. Okay, we have about 4 minutes. I'm going to try to get through these. Can I break up payments on my end to pay for Teachable site? No, if you're talking about your monthly school plan, unfortunately, we don't offer options for you to break up payments. Sorry about that. But you could always start off with a smaller plan, and then as you scale, upgrade as you go. Rachel, how can we incorporate our course with group coaching? So, Rachel, I love this question. Group coaching is something that I tell people to incorporate all of the time. It's such a huge value add. I would have one course that's your evergreen or straight up course that doesn't have any live component to it, no group coaching as a standalone. Then I would create a second course and use that to house my group coaching. And that way I can upsell over to the group coaching option from my original course. And I can also sell the group coaching as its own individual product. I can then use those in membership tiers or bundles that I create later on. So regular course on its own. And then you want to have your group coaching live in its own course as well. We call them courses, but really you could use them for anything that you like. Anonymous attendee. As a creator, I can't see where the upsells or order bumps. No problem, Crystal. I can't see where the upsells or order bumps are offered in a way to verify it is going to the right place or course version. Is there a way to view from the student enrolled and steps to modify as an admin? Yeah, for sure. So as you are adding course content at any time, you can go ahead and preview in the right-hand side. So when you add an upsell, just go ahead and click on preview and you'll be able to see how it appears within the lesson itself. I don't have anything in this lesson, so nothing's popping up, but you can make that adjustment at any time. When you already have an upsell, I think I added one here. No, that was my Zoom lesson. Maybe it was here. No. Let's see, did I add it to this one? Might have been another one. In the sake of time, I'm going to skip over showing you the visual of itself of it. But yes, once you add the upsell, you should be able to see edit in the option in the curriculum builder and make your changes from there. And previewing will always be in the upper right-hand side of your course viewer. No problem, Sarah. Happy this was helpful. Vasti, sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Is there a way to pin information so that they show at the top of each section or lesson? Not natively, no, but if there is info that you want to have repeated in each lesson, like, hey, don't forget your resources are up top. I mean, first of all, when you preview and you're in here as a student, let's say I click into this lesson, I'll always be able to see the different lesson titles and section titles here on the left-hand side. So if I have a resource section that has everything that's pertinent and relevant to my students here, they can always click on the left-hand side and jump back to that at any point. So there really shouldn't be a need to have pinned information, but if you do need that, you can always create, kind of like a base lesson. I'm not even going to bother naming it. Add that content in. We'll save it with test. And then what I would do is just duplicate that lesson a couple of times and then add content around it as needed. So then I don't need to reinvent the wheel every time and I kind of have a templated lesson. Last question comes from Rosie. I've made this request over and over. Please, please, I need downloadable CSVs of the course module comments to create an FAQ. I got you, girl. I will bring that over to our product team. No problem. That would be a really cool feature. Okay, guys, it has been 2 hours. Thank you so much. You have amazed me. I still have about 20 people in the room who have stuck with me thus far. Thank you so much. Again, this is the first of a long list of live sessions that are coming at you. So we will have sessions on coaching, building a membership and bundles, on upsells and order bumps. I am here for you every Friday at 1 p.m. I'm looking at adding additional live office hour sessions as well. So you can ask me any questions at any time on Friday. What's the link for your Friday meetings? Let me grab you that. So you'll find that here on our events page. There'll be this kind of like reddish brown first option up top. Go ahead and register for AMAs. You only have to register once and you can attend any of the Friday sessions. I'm happy to answer any questions there. I will be sending out a replay email later on today, so you'll have access to today's recording so you can go back and reference. I'm going to include a checklist for you to go back to and build and use as you're going through your own course creation process. And as always, I hope to see you in another session. Appreciate you guys so, so much for being here and take care. Have a lovely week. Bye, guys.